Society is sick. It has produced a massive amount of addicts, not just concerning substance abuse, but through social media, adult sites and gambling among other things. Addiction is modernity's form of slavery. As our brains struggle to regain control, our impulses spiraling us down into the depths of dependence, with the recent pandemic only amplifying things. We are victims fighting millions of years of evolution, which now results in our brains being hijacked due to an increasingly facilitated access to unnaturally high levels of dopamine through extreme levels of stimuli. 69% of adults and 81% of teens in the US use social media, according to the Pew Research Center, and there are 4.74 billion social media users worldwide, more than half the world's population. Concerning drug abuse, about 10% of Americans, all above the age of 12, abuse substances, with more than 100,000 overdose cases in the recent years in the US alone. The 1% is controlling the rest of the population through these means, keeping your average Joe a slave to himself and his primal desires. In the US alone between 2009 and 2017, there has been a 25% increase in self-deletion attempts among teenagers. More population-based studies found a decline in mental health in the US, with a 37% increase in the likelihood of major depressive episodes among adolescents. Depression is not the only side effect of this recent phenomenon. We have sustained impaired judgment to control our impulses, as the result of altered grey matter in our prefrontal cortex, and the most evident consequence being lowered attention spans. Another consequence would be worsening quality of sleep, which in itself is linked to lowered cognitive functions, which are in turn tied to depression, memory loss, and poor academic performance. This is all in correlation with the increase of stimulus via social media most promptly, which has replaced a large part of our realities and which paradoxically increases isolation. But there are other dangerous epidemics rising as well, most notably the fentanyl epidemic that has shot up in recent years. A drug that's 100 times more potent than morphine and 50 times more potent than heroin has flooded the black markets, with it being by far the #1 cause of overdose in the US. Adult site addiction is another parasite to society, even though it has existed since the dawn of man. Yet in today's society, its high speed and easy access have given it unprecedented levels in terms of its ability to hijack our reward system, giving us prolonged and unnatural levels of dopamine, with Pornhub, the world's largest free adult site, receiving over 33.5 billion site visits in 2018 alone, warping the brain through expectations and unrealistic standards. Our brains are plastic and highly malleable, which means that during addiction, our brains change structure to not only accommodate, but require a given stimulus that it has become dependent on, all the while slowly deteriorating. The 1% controls us through several mediums, the most obvious one being medias, but also fast food corporation, prescription drugs, politicians who keep us distracted and divided, adult site productions, your favorite idols, casinos, and much more.
They don't give a shit about people like you, Arthur.
The end question being, what will the state of humanity be in the following years, decades, and centuries? What levels of stimuli and its direct and indirect consequence, what rates of depression and self-deletion will we experience next? People know what they want and they know how to achieve it. If they stop thinking about how sorrowful their lives are at 2 a.m. after releasing one off to Mia Khalifa or God knows whoever else is profiting off their very own misery, or after watching kitten videos for 3 hours straight, and instead of doing things proactively, they stop deciding that they'll do this or that the next day, only to end up relapsing in the same vicious cycle, which stops them from reaching their true selves. If that were to happen, then God knows how far they might go. People are completely hooked, and they are too blind to see the bigger picture, while they sustain themselves on poison which relays their coping mechanism. Happiness stems from hardship. Go do some push-ups. Take a break from your favorite sin. Go outside, run as long as you can, and embrace the cold winds as they harshly blow against your freezing face. Struggle, and struggle some more. But when you're on your deathbed, you won't have regretted it, I guarantee that. It starts with you getting off social media and doing the very thing which you know is the best course of action for you to reach your true goals and achieve self-actualization.